You're listening to Living Out Loud with my mom, Michelle Flamer. Yep, she's a flamer and proud of it. Get ready to learn about queers in your communities doing great things every week.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of Living Out Loud. Boy, are we building up some great momentum now. And I have got some amazing guests that have confirmed. A few of them are going to be in January after the holiday recording, and some insanely cool nonprofit organizations like GLAD, Fairness Campaign, and multitude of others. So I'm just so excited that that people are listening, people are sharing. And today I have a really fun guest. Actually, she's not only funny, but she's deep, and she's a lioness, if you want to say. She's a mother lion to the T, protecting all kinds and not just her own. So I really appreciate it. But I found her on TikTok, and then we became friends, and it's pretty awesome. So Lori, I am so grateful you are here today. You're one of those people who shows up in the world with a rare combination of courage, humor, and heart. And I'd love to begin by grounding us in your story. So what I love doing, Lori, is asking our guest if it's okay to tell about where they came from, basically what their coming out story looks like. Because I think to really understand somebody is to understand bits and pieces of their past, right? You talk about a lot of you're really trying to normalize so many different topics. It's hard to like rein it in of where I wanted to go with this conversation. So I feel like you're probably going to be one of those guests that comes back again so we can talk about other topics. But today I would love just for you to tell the people a little bit about who you are, and then we can go into your coming out story.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I really am looking forward to this. I the overarching thing that I kind of go for is acceptance, right? Like my overarching topic and everything is acceptance. So they all kind of fall under that umbrella. But my coming out story, I was definitely comp het, Italian family, Christian, doing all of the things the way I was supposed to. I was, born in 72. So when it was time to get married and have kids, that's just what I did. And I was the oldest girl in the family. So I just had that trajectory. Unfortunately, because I was living an inauthentic life that led to a really bad trajectory into getting into addiction, which was alcoholism. And my last marriage, I got out of it and really decided that I wasn't going to drink anymore, became sober. And
Amazing.
through my sobriety journey, realized that, I'm gay. And so in therapy, my therapist actually told me and said, hey, you know what? Did you ever think about maybe you are into women? And I was like, what? Maybe.
You literally said what?
Yeah. Because we would talk about things and I'd be like, ew, and everything we talked about the dating and dating men, I was like, ew, no, ew, no, ew, no. And she was like, because we would talk about dates that I would go on, and she would go, oh, well, did he try to kiss you? I'm like, ugh, yeah, no, but ew, no. And she was like, you know what, Lori, like, I'm starting to like sense a theme here. And I was like, well, I'm also, let me preface this with, I'm autistic and ADHD too. So a lot of these social norms and things, those expectation and cues, I usually don't pick up what someone's laying down until it's a little bit later.
So I love all that. So how long was this process of coming out for you, and like who did you tell first?
So it was an interesting thing. So in therapy, we spoke about it. And in my house, we're just really very open and honest with each other. So I have
Yeah.
4 children, and my 4 children really, I have 3 that are adults, and I have 1 that's in middle school. And in my house, we really are just very open in conversation and forward. So we were starting to have conversations about it. And I said, oh, yeah, my therapist said that I might be a lesbian. And my son's girlfriend said, duh. And I was like, what? And she's like, how does everybody else know you're a lesbian except for you? And I was like, what are
Yeah.
you even talking about? And so then we got onto the topic of like, well, where am I even going to meet someone and date in this lesbian world? Because I'm so isolated and
Yeah.
I am so work driven, where I'm
Mhm.
like, there's no social setting where I'm really going to be able to connect with somebody. So I guess I'm just the crazy cat lady now. And like, that's it for life. And
But
so, but my kids were just like, yeah, we already knew.
that's so great.
The hardest ones to come out to, really, it was my sister. My sister was the hardest one. Like I cried
Mm.
when I came out to her.
Mm.
And I think it wasn't that I thought she wasn't going to be accepting. I knew she was going to accept whatever I said and whatever, whomever I love, as long as they love me correctly. I know that of my family.
Mm.
I think I was a little more worried that they were going to say I was bi.
Uh-huh.
Um,
That's
and
usually
that,
the later in
oh,
life
well,
or sort yeah, I mean that's usually what happens with the later in lifers, at least the ones that I know through Club
yes,
Lilies and any stories. It's like you hear that because most of them are married at the time. I don't think you were married. You were already divorced, I believe,
already
when you came
divorced.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's
yeah,
very different in that sense too, because you had the freedom to explore this new territory, basically.
yeah, yeah. And it wasn't, it really, I was single for 5 years, pretty
Yeah.
much. Well, 4, 5. Yeah. So, because I've been sober, January, I'll be sober 3 years. So it
Yay.
was like I had separated. Yay, celebrate. That's how you clap
I like that.
my, you just wave your hands up in the air. But yeah, I think, yeah, I think with the sobriety, I was divorced for 2 years and really trying to muscle through the dating world with men, still drinking. And when I became sober, it was when I realized like men were absolutely repugnant to me.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was all,
It's so
everything
fascinating.
about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It is.
it really was when I just, took that, like, what the buffer off. I was like, oh no, don't touch me. Like, get away from me. And realized just honestly in all of my intimacy how performative I was. And so now exploring this new journey of like actually being in my authentic self and putting my needs first and setting boundaries and all of that, is just a whole new space to navigate, let alone, my sexuality, but just in terms of just being, with somebody, it just changes you wholly as a person.
Yeah. And now you're in your first, real relationship, which is really lovely.
It is, and it's wild because it is nothing like I've ever experienced before,
Yeah.
where it just is like safe and I'm not trying to escape all of the time.
Right,
If,
right.
if that makes any sense. I'm not just going through the motions of like, well, I guess this is just what I'm supposed to do now.
Yeah.
And like I'll lay it on, I'll tell you full disclosure, I am not easy. Like I am not an easy person to date. I am not an easy person to be a friend of. I am not easy. The autism ADHD aside, I just am so driven, and it's like whatever is in front of me now, two things. Whatever's in front of me now, that's what I'm doing. And that's my hyper focus. And also I have no object permanence. So
Yeah.
it's like,
That
you know,
tracks.
yeah, right. It's like, I'm just like, hey, 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 all like in it. And then all of a sudden gone, poof, I
Yep.
disappear. And then I'm back and I'm like, oh yeah, hey, 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 disappear. But very, very strong-willed, very determined. I know what I know, and I can be really inflexible at times.
Yeah.
So, to be my first relationship
Yeah.
and while I'm exploring all of this in like this new sexuality
Yeah.
exploration, while also in this new sobriety in a relationship situation, while also working on my own trauma and demons and approaches in relationships. It's like I give this woman a lot of freaking credit, man. Like,
Yeah. Patience.
oof, if patience were like on a scale, she would
Mm,
have it tipped all the way because she just
that's
goes,
right.
okay, oh, we're doing this now. So
God
I'm
bless Bree.
God bless Bree is right because I don't know who else would have been able to tell. I say it
I-
all the time, like I don't know how people tolerate me. I just
oh
don't know
my
how
God.
people tolerate.
You're easy to tolerate. Don't worry about it. You're not that hard. Okay, wait. So now I love all of that, and I'm really, really happy, one, to know you, as you already know that I tell you that offline. That's not just, phony baloney shit, but
Right.
um I really want to now talk about your journey, your professional journey, because I thought I had done everything under the sun, but I realized that we are very similar. We've said yes a lot in our life.
Everything.
And I think saying yes to things and not being afraid to just say yes, you can always say no later, but I love saying yes to things because we learn so much through that. So you have a colorful and layered professional journey, much like me, but 10 years at Farmingdale Christian Childcare, 5 as a teacher, 5 as a director. What did those years actually teach you about children, families, and yourself?
Um, It taught me to be humble, honestly, and to approach things in a way, prior to that, my teaching experience and my experience in childcare, it's a nonprofit. So prior to that, I really was more very judgmental of parents and their journey. As a stay-at-home mom at the time, I just really was like, well, I can't believe, and was in that like little like, chicken circle where all the little clucks are always happening. And it's like, oh, can you believe so and so did this? And I really fell into that mindset.
Mhm.
And then as a teacher and in my journey and just seeing the suffering, and how everybody has a history and that really forms, that shapes who they become and how they focus on their children and how they're going to raise their children. And, I had somebody recently tell me that there's no one right way to raise a child. And what I ultimately learned is that's wrong. There is a right way to raise children. And it is, I think what, especially our generation, Gen X, we really learned, I think a lot of us were in that situation where our parents had to have a PSA to remind them that they had children at the end of the day.
Correct,
And
correct.
right. So I know myself when I became a parent, I was like, I'm not going to be like that. And I think we spent so much time as a lot of children of parents who maybe be neglectful or whatever it is. I think they spend so much time focusing on the removal of things that they don't focus on the replacement. Well, yeah, it's fine. It's great you took away the thing that was negative, but now what are you going to do to replace that? And
Yeah.
so that thing that I really started to see at a high level, which, I started as a teacher. I became the director and ran the program. I shifted a lot of what we do to really give a range of emotions to children to help them to understand that they are able to advocate for themselves, so that they're able to understand that they have a voice, that they're just not mad or sad, that there's a range. You could be frustrated, you could be all of these things, and then to just stand on their own. And we started to develop a program where we have, cognitive behavioral therapy as part of the program.
Mhm.
And, you know, you, dysregulation is more of the conversation instead of, other language that's a little harsh.
Yeah.
And that kind of is what it taught me, was more of like understanding the journey of others to find out why they're here now.
Yeah.
And it
I
kind of catalysts me into going. I went to the Jai Institute to become certified as a gentle parent coach. And then I took courses at Columbia to understand more about utilizing CBT with young children and developmentally appropriate practices. And so it's kind of snowballed into this more of like a child advocacy program.
Mhm.
So I don't know, it always winds up being something more.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm curious, like, a couple of the things that I talk about with some of my friends' parents, my child's friends' parents, and I have I have a 14-year-old, so our littles are close in age, or your littlest is close in age with mine. And one of the things that we always talk about is we wish that early on, third grade, starting talking about attachments and understanding secure, avoidant, and creating role playing for conversation and saying
Yep.
sort of the hard things, but having kids show up in a space that is like, I'm going to hold space for you while you tell me why you are upset about what your mom or dad said to you last week. And it could be like they took away my toys because I was being,
Sure.
whatever. It doesn't, it has to be, it's age appropriate, right? Like they're just
Yeah.
learning though to hold space. And I'm curious, like, if you were to bestow a little bit of advice for, and I want you to speak from the director and from a teacher perspective, not the
Mhm.
parent perspective. What would you tell parents to be better partners to to the teachers, and to like the principals or whoever, the counselors at school? How to be a better kind of an advocate, or be a better
Sure.
support system for your child, going into school.
I think be more comprehensive. I think when you piecemeal things, thinking that you're going to maybe overshare or give them intel that maybe they're going to use against you or weaponize it against you in your parenting, I think that is a disservice to our students. Because if we don't have a comprehensive view of what's occurring at home, we can't really formulate any appropriate context in the classroom to help them fully. I've, but that's also the onus of the teacher. If a teacher isn't giving, or an administrator, if you're not giving the parents the feeling that they are able to really be authentic with you, and you're not going to judge them, or, you know, do something where they feel attacked,
Yeah.
then they're not going to feel healthy and disclosing. To me, if we're really talking about advocacy, if we're having real issues at home, I always advocate for my personal children as a parent by telling everybody. So if I'm sending something out to a school about my child, I'm CCing the Board of Ed, the principal, the teacher, Jesus is on that. Like everybody's on it. I'm not leaving anybody out. And that's okay because, yeah, everybody's involved. But for me, as a director, and when I was a teacher, if a parent came and they said to me, "Hey, um, I want to have a meeting with you and your director at the time," I was like, "Sure, absolutely. You need to feel safe, and you need to feel represented, and you need to feel heard." The same thing, I have a parent information night. And in that, I say to them, I know I'm the director. I have a board here that I have to answer to. But if we don't satisfy your needs, by all means, go to my office of licensing and report me to them, and let them come and tell me that I'm doing something wrong. Because if I'm not giving you the feeling like you're being heard, then you need to be heard by somebody. And you should never stop advocating if it's for your children.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. How did you end up in with the consulting role at the Obama Foundation? I had a friend who was a
Oh my God.
FBI agent during the um, Obama presidency, and we all miss him, of course. But how is
Yeah,
that? How
absolutely.
how is being a part of that for you?
It was fun. I mean, I always wind up, like you said, I'm like a yes person. So
Yeah.
anytime somebody says, oh, there's this project, do you want to get involved? I'm like, sure, give me more detail. And then they go, I actually told my daughter to do this because she's a no person, my 12-year-old. Everything you go,
Oh,
hey, do you want? She goes, no, before you even can finish the sentence. So I was
yep.
like, practice saying yes, wait, what? I said, because then it resets your brain where you go, oh, yes, but wait, let me hear more detail before I commit. And then the person goes,
Right.
oh, you didn't fully commit because now you need to hear more detail. But at least you're holding an open mind towards what it is. But I'm
Yeah,
very much a
I'm
yes.
right. I'm more of the family. I'm more of the side of like, I'll say, okay, I'll just get curious. Like, okay, if I say yes, what does that look like? So
Yeah, I don't
I
even do
like,
that anymore. I go, yeah, sure. Sure,
and
that
then
sounds great. Let's
I'm
do it.
like, wait, why don't I have any time for myself?
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm like, oh my God, my schedule. Like, but yeah, so it was interesting because my first my first degree is in biomedical engineering. And
Right.
then
Of
I was a
course it is.
stay-at-home mom. Yeah, I was like, of course it. And then I was a stay-at-home mom for a really long time. And then I was antiquated in the industry. Like I just couldn't, I didn't feel like going back and working, 20-hour
Yeah.
days to be able to be somewhere in my career.
Yeah.
And so I started volunteering at my kids' school. And then they hired me on and they were like, you need to do this. Like you have a talent here. And then I went
Yeah.
back to school and got my degree in education. And so the high school that I went to, for some reason, I have very like creative friends who network with other creative friends.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends was on a project with the Obama Foundation to do an education series, and they needed somebody to read the script to ensure that it was developmentally appropriate because it was being geared towards the pre-K to third grade. And so she was like, hey, you want to come on? And it's going to be like this really easy thing and whatever, whatever. So she sends me the script. I'm like, sure. So it's basically just script reading and like changing language and saying like, I don't
Nice.
know if this is really, maybe you want to take this out and make it a little more developmentally appropriate. And then that parlayed into the NASA gig. So I really have been more on like an independent contractor type of scenario with these projects. Both, both projects that I did uh, wound up dead in the water. They never saw the day of light, so I can't really say I'm terribly um, successful in them. So I don't know. It's just something that I've just been doing.
Okay, so little technical difficulty. This way I'll know where I'm stopping. But so you're a mom to four children,
Yeah.
and your daughter came out to you as trans, which is a real, as we know, like this is I think why I found you on TikTok is because you play such a beautiful advocate for the trans community. And of course, being a mom, the way that you like to mom, what did it feel like when she first told you that, that her insides didn't match her body?
Um, it was it was strange to me because she was very nervous and crying.
Mm.
And I focused more on that where I was like, really? You're nervous to tell me? I've always been very open with my kids about like supporting everybody, in every ism that there is. I'm like, everybody has deserves the right to exist. Everybody has the right to thrive. And like, this is ridiculous. And so I was just like, oh, that's bizarre. But I think, it was one of those moments where, when somebody comes to, similar to the moment when I came out to them, when they were like, why didn't you know? It was one of those things where she said it. And then it was like that flash into the history of her where I was like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense now. And it really was one of those things where I was like, okay. And it was right before her 19th birthday. And I just looked at her and I go, well, for your birthday, why don't we go get you a full makeover? We'll get your hair done. We'll go get you clothes. We'll completely feminize you, so that you can live outwardly the way that you want to present yourself. And she was like, yes. And so we did the whole thing. And then I took her to dinner in her new feminine look.
Wow. How was her whole, did she have some swagger or what?
Oh my gosh, it was like a totally different person. So prior to her coming out, she always had big baggy hoodies, and she covered her face and had her hair in her face and always had like big baggy pants on, and just was like always down, always looking down, always looking down. Now it's like she works on her posture to stand upright. She like looks, her head's always up. And it was like a full blown transition from this very insecure, not like just unhappy person to now this flourishing, wonderfully excited to be present person.
Yeah.
So
So
it really
beautiful.
was. And it's funny because like on TikTok now, I'm mom to like so many transgender humans, because now they're like, oh, here she is. She's my mom now, because I am so fiercely advocating for transgender rights. And I actually, with some of the connections that I made doing my independent contracting work with government agencies, now I have been able to network with some people who might be able to influence medical care, and are giving me intel on how to, if the government should decide to make this where they are not able to get, their HRT, or they're not able to get like their gender affirming surgeries, the language that they can use in medical facilities to be able to get that, even though the government might say no, that it's not something that's like a viable option.
Yeah,
So that's
I'm so grateful for states stepping up with,
Mhm.
because of what happened with the suicide hotline. And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful that some states are stepping up to give new numbers and really making that aware. And I share it as much as when I see it, to make
Sure.
sure that everybody has, that, because I think our trans youth are, and if they don't have this kind of support, it's like, they really will, go into that ideation that we don't want. We need them to be lights. We need them to be, they are the next generation of healers and light workers, and, on a
Sure.
more spiritual plane. But so how has your relationship with her evolved since then? Like, are you guys besties?
Oh yeah. 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 I would be lost on the highway somewhere if it wasn't for her. She takes my shoulders and goes, we're going this way now. Here we
That's
go.
really,
Because she's my rock. I'm very close with all of my children.
yeah, it seems like it.
So we always are doing stuff together and vibing out together and just whatever.
So, did you think you would be on TikTok a couple of years ago talking about what you talk about so openly? And how
No,
does it, yeah, I know, right? How does this advocacy feel for you? Does it feel like a soul project, or
it
how,
does.
yeah.
It really does. I was a big Facebook girly.
Mm,
And then Facebook kind of turned into just memes, and then it became just everybody was focused on the problem, not on the solution. I really
yeah.
like to live in a mindset where it's, like I think I've told you this, I'm in my master's program for divinity now.
Yep.
Wait, let me take this hat off and put this one on. And
You said yes once again.
I said yes once again. But I do feel like it is so fundamentally important to acknowledge the struggle, right?
Mm,
I think it's really important to acknowledge the suffering while also living in the solution. I think
mm,
it's really important to be in a solution-based mindset where you are validating people in their experience, but also offering them hope, guidance, support. And so I really operate from that space. And Facebook, that platform, just wasn't performing in that way at all. And then I became familiar with TikTok, which I'm old, so new spaces are like
me too.
daunting.
Me too. I'm newer to it. Totally.
It's horrible. So I started just doing like the trends and the silly little things and lip syncing to things. But then what I found was the audience that was responding to that were like thirst trappers and people who were looking for somebody sexy. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not that. I don't want to hold that space for
And let me
people.
just paint a picture. Hold on, let me just paint a picture for the audience real quick. She is a high femme for the lesbian community, if you know what a high femme looks like. But not only that, she's got like a Diane Keaton vibe. She's got like you're very covered, but also very sexy in that coverage, like a Diane Keaton, right? It's like
right.
it's like you're so high femme, you don't need to show skin in a sense. It's like it's just sort of eludes off of you. So I just want to like give that picture, the ombre hair, the big awesome glasses, the big beautiful like jewelry and the nails, it's like it's all that. But then there's like this beautiful depth to you, which is why I was so excited to get you on the podcast because there's like these, it's like your duality in human form in so many ways, right? Because I know you love
Oh,
your sweats and I know you love taking off everything, it's like, and just
yeah.
getting in your comfies. But for the most part, you present very high femme the minute you leave the door.
Yeah. Always. Yeah.
So
My
I just
public
had to paint
persona
that picture. So you being an advocate, you don't look like a typical advocate, which is awesome. And it's more about people are leaning in to listen now, which is really cool.
It's so wild to me because I feel like I am the most awkward human being on the planet. And I feel like I just, the fact that anybody is even paying any attention, I'm like, what is going on? And even as you're saying all of these wonderful things, I'm like, you're too kind. Like, what are you even on? But you know what I mean? Where I'm just
Nothing.
like, okay,
Sober at the moment.
hold on. We're all done now. But like,
Okay, great episode. Thanks. Bye.
now I'm all flustered. But it's funny because at work yesterday, one of my staff said, "You're really taking off on TikTok." And I was like, "Oh," she goes, "You're all over my For You page." I said, "Well, it's probably because we're connected." And she goes, "No, like I have other friends and they put content out there, but like every time I open up," she goes, "The wild thing is that I'm always so engaged." She's like, "I just can't stop listening." Yeah, I know. I was like, "Yay." I'm like, she's like, "I can't stop listening to you." And I'm like, why? She goes, I don't, the content. She said, you just have so much. She said, there's people out there that give information and it's very data oriented, right? It's like focused solely on the data, or they're reading from a screen about the things that somebody else already reported. She's like, but for some reason, you're personalizing it and saying, hey, this is impacting me. And I see that it's impacting you. And that, even with when we were talking about the SNAP benefit removal and how, I just jumped into an advocacy, but also an action plan and putting that together and wound up pretty national in terms of people that I connected with and getting them to spearhead similar things to what I'm doing here. And she was like, it's just one of those things that, you're just an action person, but you're so personal in it. And then you're so invested in the things with your conviction.
Wait,
And I was just like,
do you want to get into politics at any time? Would you say yes to like Congresswoman? I think Congressman Lori Gatto kind of sounds cool.
I think that I would probably cut a bitch. So I don't know if I'm really cut out for it. I think I'm more of like a
You
boots on
you
the
like you
ground
like
kind
you
of.
like working in the shadows, basically. I mean, you are the Crypt
Yeah,
Keeper. Like,
I
what
am
the
the
hell
Crypt
behind
Keeper.
that name? You got to tell me Crypt Keeper. That's her freaking TikTok. What is that?
So Crypt Keeper has evolved because of my cancer body. We in my house have a very good sense of humor, and my
Mhm.
cancer body is very, very tiny. Like I am very tiny and very frail looking, but I will beat your ass. And so my kids are always like, they would call me Skeletor and all this stuff. And then and I also just have this affinity for the macabre. I just
Mhm.
absolutely love anything that's, I have skulls all over the house. I have,
Yeah, that's
things like that in my decor that people are like, oh, Halloween's over. I'm like, no, that's my life. And so Crypt Keeper just kind of evolved from Skeletor, I guess. And that's where I landed.
I
But it
freaking love
also
it.
is like, I think it also is like the taking bodies into no names, like I take people down and I just don't even give a shit, where I'm just like, whatever. Sorry your
So,
feelings are hurt. Not sorry.
so what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Um, I would like to leave the legacy where people continue doing the work. I would like to have a legacy where people take uh just glean anything from me where they go, action is the key. That's pretty much it. They don't have to, I don't need my name attached to anything. I just want the action there. I want people to just look and go, I need to lead with love and I need to lead with action.
What does living out loud mean to you?
Living out loud to me means being my authentic self and not making excuses for myself or apologizing for it.
Yeah, I think that's what comes across so great on TikTok with you is that because and I do say this a lot because I think a lot of people don't recognize it, but authenticity is the highest form of vibration. That
Hmm.
frequency of being authentic, so you don't have to do any, you just get to sit in your kitchen, pour coffee, and talk about what's important to you because it's the authenticity that's the hook because there is no hook, right? Like at the end of the day, it's
Right.
you're just speaking from your heart and you're sharing things that are really relevant. And that's why I created the pivot in my podcast is like for the same reason. It's like we can be these little small cogs in the bigger, we don't need to be up front, we're just like doing
Right.
our part in our little necks of the world and becoming something that is hopefully worth sharing or hopefully someone hears something and it changes their opinion about it or they reflect on something that resonated. It's like all those
Right.
little bits to me is why I pick and choose the people that I want on and the organizations that I feel are important. So the next part of this is I always do like a rapid fire at the end and
Okay.
some some haven't been so rapid. Let me tell you, they go into very long, but it's okay. However you need to answer, but let's just start with, and we already know the answer to this, coffee or tea.
Coffee.
I know, a
Raise my
girl
blood
after
type.
my own heart. Sunrise or midnight?
Sunrise.
Yeah, me too. A book you think everyone should read?
The Celestine Prophecy.
Good. Classic. But you're right.
Yeah.
It's kind of starts from there. I think that's a great
Yeah.
one. Okay, a TikTok trend because you brought it up. A TikTok trend you secretly love.
A TikTok trend I secretly love. Oh God, I don't even know. Right now, I like the silent dance one,
Oh
where
my
you
God,
like
that
dance.
one that you put out with your youngest was hilarious. That was really
Oh my!
good though.
Some of them make me laugh so hard. Like there's the one where it's like this guy in the woods with his son, and they're just doing these dances. And when I tell you, he's breaking it down, but they're so hear it, and then they do it to the music, and it's so spot on. But the silent part is the funniest part.
Oh, it's the best when you can hear the whatever sounds are going on, but it's hilarious. You're okay, now you like to cook, your go-to comfort meal.
Oh, Sunday sauce.
Ooh, yeah, I love that. And a word your closest friends would use to describe you.
Goofy,
Okay.
probably. I
Your
would say.
favorite New Jersey escape. We got to give love to New Jersey.
Oh, Jersey. I mean, the Jersey Shore, of course. I,
Yeah, it
I,
was made famous by a few crazy people. So, and if you could sit, this is the last question. If you could sit and talk with anyone living today, who would you want to sit down with?
living today. Um,
So alive, breathing, not in a crypt.
Not in a crowd. Oh, damn. Kamala Harris.
Ooh, okay. I like that. That's a good choice. I want to thank you for your time on this Saturday and taking time away from the family And if you've heard a little banging in the back, they weren't making crypts or coffins back there. She has a little construction. I don't think it'll be too loud, but just in case you guys were wondering. So anyways, thank you, Lori, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yay, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
If you liked this episode, please hit the follow button and remember, sharing is caring. Until next week, stay proud, stay loud.